Have you ever done everything right and still watched her lose interest? You texted back at the perfect time. You were kind, you were available, you put in the effort, and somehow the more you gave, the faster she pulled away. That feeling, that quiet, confusing rejection, that's it. It doesn't just sting, it makes you question something deeper. It makes you wonder if there's something wrong with you. There isn't. I'm your host, and this is The Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. And today I'm going to show you 5 things about female psychology that most men will never understand. Not because they're not smart enough, but because nobody ever taught them. And I'll warn you now, the final one is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast, and almost no one uses it correctly. So stay with me. Let's start with the honest truth. You were never broken. You were just operating without a map. Think about it. From the time you were young, the advice you got about women was either surface level or completely backwards. Be nice, be consistent, show her how much you care. And when that didn't work, you tried harder. More effort, more messages, more availability, and still nothing landed the way you wanted it to. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this. What most men don't realize is that female attraction is not logical. It's not a checklist she consciously runs through. It's an emotional and biological response that happens beneath conscious thought. It's subconscious, it's layered, and it's triggered by very specific signals that have almost nothing to do with how much you like her or how hard you try. Evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years wiring women to respond to certain cues. Cues of strength, mystery, emotional safety, and unpredictability. Not desperation, not performance, not availability. When you understand that everything changes, you stop chasing, you stop performing, you stop trying to convince her, and you start becoming someone whose presence alone creates a feeling she can't quite explain but absolutely doesn't want to walk away from. That's what we're building today. Let's go through the 5 secrets, and not in a surface-level way, in a deep, usable, real way that you can carry into every interaction starting today. The first one is masculine presence. Not height, not looks, not money. Presence. There is a quality that some men walk into a room with that shifts the energy immediately. Women feel it before they understand it. It's groundedness. It's the sense that this man is fully here, fully himself, and completely unbothered by whether or not he's being approved of. That energy is magnetic in a way that's almost unfair. Here's the thing most men get wrong. They think they need to perform confidence, so they talk louder, they show off, they fill silence with noise. But real masculine presence is actually the opposite. It's stillness. It's the man who doesn't need to fill every silence, who makes eye contact without flinching, who takes up space without apologizing for existing. Picture this. You're in a conversation with a woman. There's a brief pause. Instead of rushing to fill it with something clever or self-deprecating, you just hold it. You stay grounded in it. You stay calm. That one moment communicates more about your value than an hour of talking. Presence isn't something you perform, it's something you inhabit. The second secret is emotional challenge. This one makes men uncomfortable at first because they've been told that the path to a woman's heart is through warmth and validation. And warmth matters absolutely, but warmth alone doesn't create attraction. What creates attraction is polarity, tension, the sense that you are not a guaranteed yes. Women are deeply drawn to men who challenge them emotionally, not men who are cold or cruel. That's not what this means. It means men who are playful, men who tease with a smile, men who don't immediately agree with everything she says just to stay in her good graces, men who have an opinion, hold it confidently, and aren't rattled when she pushes back. Here's a simple example. She says something mildly dramatic like, "I can't believe he did that. I'm literally going to lose my mind." Instead of immediately validating her with, "Oh my God, you're so right, that's terrible," you raise an eyebrow slightly and say, "Okay, dramatic, tell me what actually happened." That small moment of playful challenge does something powerful. It signals that you're not intimidated by her emotions. You're not trying to manage her or win her approval. You're engaging with her as an equal, from a place of amusement rather than anxiety. The man she can't control is the man she can't stop thinking about. The third secret is selective attention. This one is grounded in deep evolutionary psychology. Women, like all humans, are wired to place higher value on things that are not infinitely available. Scarcity creates value. This isn't manipulation, It's biology. When you are endlessly available, when you respond instantly to every message, when you rearrange your life around her schedule, you are unintentionally communicating that your time and attention are limitless. And anything limitless becomes worthless. Not because she's cruel, because the brain is wired to deprioritize what it can always access. The man who is genuinely difficult to pin down because he has a full life, real ambitions, deep friendships, personal projects, that man's attention feels like a reward when it arrives. And rewards create craving. This doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean leaving her on read to seem cool. It means actually building a life that matters to you, having things you won't cancel, having standards about your time. When she texts you and you don't respond for 2 hours because you were genuinely in the middle of something that matters to you, that is not a tactic. That is a man with a life. And that is deeply attractive. Your attention should feel like a gift, not a default. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. And there are 2 more secrets coming, including that final one I warned you about. The 4th secret is intentional listening. Now, I want you to pay close attention here because this is the one that separates men who are liked from men who are deeply desired. Most men listen to respond. They're waiting for their turn to talk. They're formulating the next clever thing to say while she's still mid-sentence. Women feel that. They might not name it, but they feel it. And it communicates that what she's saying matters less than what you're about to say. Intentional listening is different. It means you are fully present. You track the small things. You remember what she mentioned 3 weeks ago, the thing about her sister, the thing about the job she's nervous about, the coffee shop she keeps meaning to try. And when it comes up naturally, you bring it back. Imagine this. She mentioned once in passing that she was anxious about a presentation at work. 2 days later, without her bringing it up, you say, "Hey, how did that presentation go?" That's it. That's the whole thing. But that moment, that tiny specific moment, lands like nothing else. Because it tells her something that most men never communicate. You were actually listening. You actually saw her. Not just her surface, not just what she looked like, but what was going on inside her. Emotional visibility is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy. Women don't just want to be heard, they want to be seen. Be the man who actually sees her. The 5th secret, and this is the one I warned you about, is controlled unpredictability. Stay with me here because this is where the real psychology lives. The human brain runs on dopamine. And dopamine, contrary to what most people think, is not released in response to pleasure. It's released in response to the anticipation of possible reward. The uncertainty before the reward, the not knowing, that's what drives craving. That's what creates obsession. In relationships, this plays out in a very specific way. When a man is completely predictable, always warm, always available, always responding exactly as expected, there's no dopamine hit. There's no anticipation. There's comfort maybe, but not desire. The brain stops seeking what it already knows it has. But when a man is warm and then pulls back slightly, when he's intensely present and then fully absorbed in his own world, when he compliments her and then challenges her in the same conversation, the brain stays activated. It keeps scanning. It keeps seeking. It keeps thinking about him. This is not cruelty. This is not emotional withdrawal. This is the natural rhythm of a man who has a rich inner life and doesn't orbit around any single person. He's interested genuinely, but he's also complete without her. That combination, genuine interest plus self-sufficiency is neurologically irresistible. Here's what this looks like in practice. One evening, you're incredibly engaged, thoughtful, funny, fully present. 2 days later, you're quieter, absorbed in something you're working on. Not cold, not distant, just elsewhere, fully in your own world. She reaches out. You respond warmly but briefly. You're not performing mystery. You're just living. And she's noticing the contrast. And that contrast, that oscillation between closeness and self-sufficiency, keeps her dopamine system firing in a way that predictable warmth never could. The man she can't quite figure out is the man she keeps coming back to. Now, let's bring this all together because here's what I want you to understand before we close. These aren't tricks. They're not manipulations. They're not techniques you apply to a woman like she's a puzzle to be solved. They are deep truths about human psychology. Truths that when you embody them make you a genuinely better and more grounded man. Not just more attractive, better. The man with real masculine presence is a man who has done the internal work to be comfortable in his own skin. The man who creates emotional challenge is a man confident enough to have real opinions. The man with selective attention is a man who has built something worth protecting his time for. The man who listens intentionally is a man who is genuinely curious about other human beings. And the man with controlled unpredictability is a man who is complete in himself, who has a world of his own that runs whether or not anyone else is in it. These qualities don't make you attractive in spite of being real. They make you attractive because they're real. You don't need to be perfect. You never did. You don't need the right face or the right job or the right opening line. You need a strategy. You need a framework. You need the ability to understand what's actually happening beneath the surface of attraction. Not the story you were sold, but the truth that's been operating quietly underneath it the whole time. Most men will never know what you now know. Most men will keep doing more of the same. More effort, more availability, more trying, and keep getting more confused when it doesn't work. But you've already started to shift. Something happened in you while you were listening to this. A small leveling up, a quiet recalibration. The way you see yourself, the way you understand these dynamics, it's already different than it was 10 minutes ago. That matters. That's real. Use what you've learned with intention. Use it with respect. These are not weapons. They are signals. And when you send the right signals, not to impress, but because you've actually become the man who carries them naturally, everything changes. She stops being a destination. She becomes a possibility, one of many. Because a man with real value, real presence, and a real life doesn't chase. He attracts. That's who you're becoming. And that is everything. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentle Mind now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality.